Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel, my chess miniatures channel, chess channel. So today I'm bringing you a game played in the recent Austrian National Team Championship a few days ago between international master Manfred Freitag from Austria, playing with the white pieces, and Etienne Bacrot, top French grandmaster, playing with the black pieces. Now Etienne is a fabulous player, one of France's best players for many years. As I think he was actually number one during many years. Now of course they have Fidosa and also Vacher-Lagrève, but he's still one of the top players, a regular of the Olympic team, a very tough opponent. And Freitag is a senior international master playing for Austria. So let's check the game. Freitag opens with white, plays knight f3 as the first move. And after a few moves, the game transposes into the so-called Catalan opening, which is characterized by this g3 and bishop g2 development. This is very topical line nowadays, very popular. Most of the top players have it in their repertoire. And of course, black has different ways to play against this line. He can play with a check on b4, he can capture d takes c4, or he can play bishop e7, which is the most solid and reasonable line. Bishop g2, castle, castle, and c6, bolstering the pawn on d5. So from now on, if white at any point decides to capture on d5, in these types of positions we will probably recapture with the e pawn, allowing an easy development of the bishop. But if we've played b6 or some other move on the queen side, we might decide to recapture with the c pawn. All depends, but for the moment this capture doesn't give white any advantage. The main move here is queen to c2, and that's the move that Freitag plays. Develops the queen, prepares to put the rook on d1, and also protects the pawn on c4. There are several moves here. Etienne goes for b6, which is one of the main moves, generally with the idea to play bishop to b7. Occasionally the bishop might pop out on a6. That all depends on the move order of white. White goes bishop to f4, bishop to b7. And now if white plays moves such as b3 or knight b to d2, then what black will play knight to d7, rook to c8, and c5. And once black has played c5, theory considers that he's doing well and has fully equalized. So really it's on the onus of white to find a way to put a bit of pressure before black gets in knight d7, rook c8, and c5. Manfred plays knight to e5, an interesting move. And here theory gives knight b d7 as the main move, with the idea c takes d5, c takes d5, and to bring quickly the rook to c8. And as far as I know, theory says this is more or less equal. White can at some point win the two bishops, but as far as I remember, this position is solid enough to be able to be held for black. Bacrot plays knight f to d7. I'm not quite sure about this move. It does mean that the knight on b8 is not developed. Of course, if white captures, then it will be developed, but white shouldn't capture here on d7. It does open the idea of f6 or even g5, as we will see in the game. And in any case, I think Bacrot was trying to get out of theory as soon as possible. Freitag played rook to d1, which is one of the normal moves against knight b to d7. But here it's slightly weak. The best move, according to theory, is knight to d3. Now this is an interesting idea to retain. The knight drops back, but what it's trying to do is avoid exchanges so that the knight on b8 can't develop easily. So you have to bear that in mind when your opponent plays a retreating move. Consider capturing, but consider to drop back as well. Try and make his knight move a bit weaker. Freitag didn't play knight to d3. As I said, he played rook to d1, and black captures on e5. Now, of course, Freitag could have played bishop takes e5, very sensible, very reasonable, and here the position is just equal. Black doesn't have any trouble, but of course white has a reasonable position, no weaknesses, an equal position. Freitag played d takes e5, an enterprising move, opening up the rook and trying to get in e4. So he is playing for a win here. Of course, he does double up pawns, and also he allows black to play a move which already unbalances the position. And Bacrot takes advantage and plays g5, a very dangerous move, obviously weakening the king, but at the same time trying to isolate the pawn on e5 and capture it afterwards. Now, it has to be said that g5 is quite a typical move in the Catalan, so you can't really be surprised to see it in this position. Bishop to e3, knight to d7, hitting the pawn, c takes d5, c takes d5, and bishop to d4. Computer gives the position as equal, but I do think black is doing okay, especially after bishop to c5. And now I think that white makes a mistake. I wouldn't say that d takes e5 before was a mistake. It was an alternative, an option. But now e3 must be the best move in this position. I mean, you protect the bishop so that if there is an exchange, you can capture back with the pawn with a fantastic position. You give a square e2, maybe for the knight at some point, maybe for the queen, who knows. A very reasonable move. Why did he play this move, Freitag? For one or two reasons. One possible reason is that he thought he might lose the e5 pawn after something like queen to b8. The other reason might have been that he thought that his move e4 was superior, hitting the center and opening up here. But I think he missed one of black's answers. Black played take, 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 and now Freitag goes pawn takes pawn, no doubt considering that black's most likely option was bishop takes, pawn takes, and now I'm thinking that this check can be stopped by queen to d1, followed by knight to c3. The pawn on d5 will fall, black's king is weak. Probably Freitag was looking at this type of lines. Maybe not this one specifically, but this type of lines. However, Bacrot uncorked the fantastic move queen to f6. And now there's a threat, which is knight to f3, capturing the rook on d4 because of the queen. And also the rooks can come to the center now. Now this could easily have unbalanced Freitag's state of mind. I don't think he saw this move. He finds queen to d1, which is the best move, protecting f3 and protecting the rook. Bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes pawn. He's won a pawn, but his queen side is undeveloped. And black, with his move g4, puts a lot of pressure on this situation now, because knight to f3 is a threat and the queen side is not developed. Now, I am sure that most of us here, we would have played knight to d2, developing and protecting the f3 square. In this case, black would have played rook to e8, probably rook to d8, and although the position is roughly equal, I would take the black pieces here. Not by much, but I think I would still take blacks here. I have a bit more initiative in the position. Freitag played knight to c3, which isn't a mistake, but is opening you up to some tactical dangers in a while. So knight to f3 check, king to g2, and of course, we all know that this construction, a pawn on g4 plus knight in f3, can lead to all sorts of different tactical options. For example, if a rook gets to the last rank, there's the Arab mate on g8, Arab mate on h2. Also, sometimes the queen can go into f3 and balance with the knight on h2 to give mate. There's all sorts of different tactical tricks with the knight on f3. So you're really opening up yourselves for danger if you allow a knight to go there. The computer is holding this position still, but in practical terms, it's very risky. And I think he should have played knight to d2, which was much safer. Rook a to e8. And now, queen to f1 was the best move, after which rook e6 and rook e8, going to try and put the rook on e1, and it's clear that black is better, but the win still has to be found. Another option would have been queen to b3, a bit more active, but putting the queen on the other side of the board, which we saw yesterday was always dangerous. However, Freitag missed again another one of black's moves, and he played queen to a4, threatening the pawn on g4. And I am speculating that he had seen knight to e1, but was thinking rook takes e1, rook takes e1, and now queen takes g4 check. And here, with knight plus a pawn for the exchange, I think that white could be doing more or less okay. So maybe he missed this, or maybe he missed something else. The thing is, when Bacrot played knight to e1, he resigned. And the lines I've calculated are, if rook takes e1, Bacrot will not play rook takes e1. He would play queen to f3 check, intermediate move. And now, obviously king to g1, rook takes e1 is mate. But then again, king to f1, queen to h1 is mate. So maybe he just saw this mate and decided to resign. Or maybe he was thinking of playing king to f1 and he missed that after queen to f3 there is actually a checkmate on h1 which can't be stopped. He can give a couple of checks, but as soon as the checks are over, queen to h1 is totally winning. And if knight to e2 to block, then we just capture the knight and we have a full extra piece. Hard to say what happened to Freitag at this point. Maybe he just had some sort of a mental blockage. Who knows? Chess is difficult, and especially when you play against this type of players, it's tough. I've played against Bacrot myself. I played against him in Linares in 2007. I had the draw right at the end, but I messed up and ended up losing after nearly 60 moves. So I know what it is to play against this type of players and hold on, and then just make one mistake and you're completely dead. They're very strong players. Anyway, hope you enjoyed today's game. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me a lot to grow, and leave me a comment. And I'd love to hear about you and listen to your views on the game. I'm going to be traveling during the next week, 10 days. So I'm going to leave all of you guys 2 or 3 pre-recorded videos during my absence. I can't record every day, of course, because I'm not going to be at home. But I'll leave you a couple of 2 or 3 videos so you can get some cool miniatures every 2 or 3 days until I get back. So have a good one. And above all, please have fun.